Hi guys, and in this episode, sorry it's a bit late, but we're going to do databasing. We require the database to finish the engine, so we're going to have to do it. So as you can see, I've got the project open, and we're going to come up here and we're going to click and we're going to add ourselves. We're not going to add a form that's already created. We're going to add one that add a new unit, and we're going to save it. We're going to go create a new folder, and we're going to call this database. And then we're going to call this DataBase utils. Or no, we're going to call it database. We're going to stick with our current naming system. We're going to get database underscore core. And we're going to improve on the database we used last time. There was nothing really wrong with it. Here's a version of it for those of you who don't remember. It was simply each line would be where we split them, and then we'd split them by this delimiter, and we'd have our signature type at the end. Why are we staying with this? Currently, it's in debate. I might change it at a later date, and we might go to a different system. But for now, this is the simplest method that I can think of. So we're going to start, and we're gonna make ourselves a record. Last time we loaded these into a ListView. Have the project here. We loaded them into this ListView, and we were streaming them straight out of there and using them that way. But because we're a service, we don't have any forms, or we could have forms, but we don't want any forms. So we're going to call this signature underscore base, and this is going to be a record. So we're going to string this together so that it looks, or it behaves similar to the list view you just saw. So this will be one line, and then in a minute we'll make another record that encompasses this record as an array, and that will give us our data to troll through. So you're going to want signature name, this is going to be a string. You're going to want signature, just the signature, and that's going to be a string. We will change these in a minute because I believe they're supposed to be. I've not used this method in a real long time. Mainly because there's better methods. If you guys have learned programming and you know Delphi, go and stick an SQL database in here or other type of database. I did a video on Microsoft Access databases and accessing them in Delphi. If you know more about Delphi, you should be able to string it together yourself. So then we want the signature underscore type, and this is going to be a string. I don't know. I don't think I should keep it as this. I can't remember why I didn't last time. I'm going to call it that. I have some recognition that last time I did this, naming something too similar caused it to mess up. So we're gonna name it that. And then here we're gonna make ourselves another record. We're gonna call it the signature DB, and we're gonna load this each. So this will be empty every time the program starts, and we will load it manually off a file. So this needs to be. So we need our signature underscore arr, and that will give us our array, or that will be the name for the array. And then so we're gonna go with, we're not going to bother actually telling how long it is because we're going to load it dynamically. So this is an array of the signature base, which is above it. I'm just going to pause the video for a second. Sorry about that, guys. Some randomer was at my door. So we're going to need to change. I've done this. Oh, Delphi's not responding. Right, so these need to be this, and we're going to come back and we're going to set the character length. So we're just going to set them to 255 characters, because that should be plenty. You could set this one actually to 50 characters. Your signature type should be, you know, maybe 30 characters, but for the rest we'll leave them. You could set this to 100 probably. I don't expect your signature name to be over 100 characters long. And then what we need to do is we need to add in a signature count. Why do we want to count? We don't want to know how many. We want to know how many database, how many signatures are in our database, so that when we call them later on, we can loop through all of them, if you know what I mean. So these are going to be sitting in a dynamically formed array inside of an array, and we're gonna need to know how many are there, else we will end up with nothing. You'd get violation. You'd call something and it will say that string doesn't exist. So we're going to add a few declares. We might need classes. And we're going to come down here. So we're just going to, we should actually, as I've got the other project open, come over to our database utils, and we should be able to just clone most of this. We should be able to clone all of this. No, we should be able to clone all of this. So we're going to need Comm Control. Can't remember exactly why it's in there. But surely if I paste the code, it will. Let's leave it out and see where it was. See what it was for. You do end up writing code and forgetting exactly what it was in there for. It's probably in here to control our list view, by the looks of it. So we're going to take out save because you're not going to need it. As I showed you earlier here, it's just a text file. You know, you can sit here and you can add them in manually. So take save out of here. Oh, that's why Comm Control's in here. So we're going to have to do some slight modification. You don't need this. And there's going to be a very good reason why we don't zero the record, because you might have more than one file, and I want to add that in later on in this season, to add in the fact that you might want to load more than one database, and I don't want to rule it out immediately. So this is where we're going to add our record in. We're going to have to take this out, obviously, but I don't want to get rid of exactly what was what, to make it backwards compatible. So we still want to split it via these strings, so we're going to cut that out, put that in this side. And then, so we know that the first one's the name, the second one's the signature, and the third one is the signature type. We did our array in the same way. So what we need to do is we need to call, I believe we need to set a variable for these. I believe it needs to be a global one. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick a T in front of all of these, or an R actually, and then we need to stick an R in front of this one, and then we can just name them their original name here. So I believe it's only this one we need. This databasing type should give us a decent throughput. It should perform pretty well, and I don't believe I had any issues with it last time. I think we moved to a more universally accepted method, or we moved to SQLite for the file manager I was writing at the time. So yep, everything's fine other than the errors we're getting down there because we're calling a form when we don't have one. So we're going to come down here, and after we split it, we're going to have to take the R out the front, and then we should be able to, yep, our array, and then from that we should, if we know what the name of the variable we want, so we want signature underscore name is equal, I believe it wants a number in here. Yep. Right, so we're going to use the current count of I to set our name. So it will mirror what is in your text file line for line. And then we can just cut this from here, put it there, put an end on it, and then we can get rid of this error. And we're pretty much going to go through doing this for all of the variable names. And this will then, there you go. So if you put the number in first, it will, if you put the integer in first, the specific row you wanted in it, it will automatically show you all of the variables. Okay, where have I made my spelling mistake? That should have been a dot. And the last one is our signature type. So just like last year, we've mirrored it. It worked fine last year, and then what we need to do is this will automatically, so for every time this loops it will do that, and what we need to do is we need to increase the variable string or signatures. Oh god. So we're going to, every time this loops, so this was a loop, so it counts from however many lines minus the last one. We don't want the last one because that will be empty because we started from 0. So most programs start from 0, most people start from 1. So you will have to get used to that. But it will loop round, it will split them by a delimiter, and then our last database should just import straight into this one. So you should just be able to dump it into the folder and away it goes. And then it will add them to the array we've created. Yes. And I don't think there's anything we need to strip out. Nope. And that's our database done. It's that simple. It's taken about 14-ish minutes. And that is now going to allow us, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to make a change quickly. We are going to add another unit, and we're going to split some of this off. So we're going to come into our databases and we're going to put this, and there's a very good reason for this. There's array, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut out these like that, and we're going to stick them in here. And then we're simply just going to call over to and we're also going to cut this variable out now that I've added it. Because I don't want to have to call, later on we're going to have to call this unit from another unit, and then we want our engine to be able to call this unit. The engine's going to require to call this variable, and I don't want to have to call this entire unit for this variable. You'll start getting loops in your code, so you will declare that, I don't know, engine requires this, and then this requires engine, and you'll end up with it telling you that you've got too many units that are packed together in odd ways. So we're going to add I'm going to add this to it, like so. And that's pretty much going to finish our episode for today. So it should, well, we know the code works because we used it last year, so there's no point in retesting it, and it won't compile while the engine's still in pieces. So next week we should be able to finish the engine now that we have our databasing system in place. I may, oh, don't look at that, I may create a couple of databases with current signatures in for you guys. I have got a plan. One of the guys last time kept asking, how do I test this? How do I test this? How do I test this? So let me know in the comment section if you think it's a good idea to make some not very effective, terribly coded malware. It's just going to do stupid things. I was thinking of making a very simple virus that just simply copies itself to a new directory each time it boots and things like that, each time it runs. Yeah, some little things like that. They'll probably be instantly detected by everyone else, but it's difficult to describe. I want to make a piece of malware which is not effective enough to cause any issues, but it's still a piece of malware that people following this can add to their database and then show that, you know, look, there's a piece of malware running and the software is catching it. So let me know what you think in the comment section. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It will help me out. Here are 2 videos you might like if you're not subscribed. Here's a subscribe button. If you're following this project, here's Delphi for free, and here's something you might like.